Hello, everybody. This is Basketball Star 1130. I'm back, and today on the channel, we are going to be doing something that I have highly been looking forward to pretty much all summer, and that is my final 53-man roster prediction 2022 for the Buffalo Bills. We're going to go through all the way from QB to safety to special teams, all that. So, without further ado, let's get into it. I will go each position and then how many I have keeping and what those players are. So, first is QB. This is pretty straightforward. I have two quarterbacks being on the roster, Josh Allen and Case Keenum. Matt Barkley he knows his role. Matt Barkley's still going to be in the building. He's still going to be at practice. He's going to be on the practice squad, though, helping out Josh Allen in the film room, helping out the guys around the field. It's what's called a practice squad. He'll still be in the room and building, just helping out Josh Allen as a steady veteran. And then Case Keenum, I know he got a lot of criticism. The first week of preseason, he played pretty much terrible, to put it lightly. Second week, almost pretty much perfectly, only like 2 incompletions in a day. Then last night, which would be Friday night because I'm recording this on Saturday. Last night, he had an okay game, nothing special, but not terrible. By the way, the Bills did lose 21-0 to the Panthers, so their 10-game preseason win streak was ended there, but it doesn't really matter. But it's pretty straightforward. So I have Keenum and Allen making the QB room on the 53-man roster, and then Matt Barkley still being around, but on the practice squad. Running back, I have 4. This is pretty straightforward, too. Well, maybe not for some people, but I'll get into that in a minute. Devin Singletary, James Cook, Zach Moss, and then, yes, Tywan Jones for special teams, because he is an outstanding gunner for this team, one of the best gunners in the NFL, along with his running mate on the other side as a gunner. I'll get into that once we get to another position. Once I mention another Once I mention another position. But Devin Singletary, I think, will be the lead back. He'll be the elusive back, James Cook will be the third down pass catcher back. And Zach Moss has really been... I kind of wrote him off. So did everyone else. But I particularly wrote him off. I thought he was going to be cut. I said when James Cook was drafted, I said goodbye, Zach Moss. Because he was drafted to be that power back. He's the only one that's like 220 pounds plus in this running back room. So... I wrote him off once James Cook was drafted, but that's not his role, so he will be the power back, hopefully, and he's shown some nice improvements in preseason, and then Tywan Jones, as I said, as the gunner. Raheem Blackshear, you could say, I hope to get Raheem Blackshear on the practice squad. I'm not really sure. He's put on some really, really good tape in college. He did in college, too, but really, really good tape for the Bills in the Bills preseason this year in 2022. I really liked how he moved, his quickness. I really liked how he fought for extra yards. Really liked him in the receiving game out of the backfield. So you could argue he replaced Tywan Jones, but Tywan Jones is the steady veteran, is one of the high-end gunners on this team. And then Reggie Gilliam, as a full, I denoted he's a fullback. He's a fullback first and foremost, then tight end, then running back. He's kind of a Swiss Army knife for this team. He just got a big 2-year extension, so good for him. I mean, he's a walk-on at Toledo, and then he didn't get a scholarship, till his senior year at Toledo in college. And then he was undrafted, so he had to fight to make an NFL roster. And then once the Bills signed him undrafted in 2020, he had to fight to beat out Pat DeMarco, which was a very consistent fullback for this team for many years before Reggie Gilliam came. And he did that too. And then he worked, and he got that big extension. And instead of, fans want this too, and I think his role will be increased this year, instead of putting Josh Allen in 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, the whole world knows, every single defense in the NFL plus more, and the fans and everyone watching knows that's going to be a Josh Allen run-up QB sneak up the middle. Huge Reggie Gilliam in that situation. Maybe the 1-yard line, goal line back, Zach Moss, but 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, 3rd and inches, 4th and inches. Huge Reggie Gilliam. He's big. He's a bowling ball. Greg Rousseau called him a bowling ball, and I agree. You got to use him more. So that's my running back room, plus the fullback denoted in Reggie Gilliam. Now, wide receiver, I only have 6, and I'll explain this after. Stephon Diggs, Gabriel Davis, Isaiah McKenzie. Those are your clear top 3 with McKenzie starting in the slot. And then Khalil Shakir, Jake Kumro, and yes, Isaiah Hodgins. So I wanna I wanna paint a picture for you. I wanna lay this out for you quick, you guys quick. People are saying, the top five. You got Crowder, Shakir, McKenzie, Diggs, and Davis. People are saying that, and then Kumaro and Hodgins are fighting for that sixth spot. I do think they're gonna, excuse me. I do think they're gonna keep six, but I don't think Crowder's in that mix. There's no role for Crowder. He doesn't contribute on special teams whatsoever. He missed about the first half of training camp. Excuse me about that. He missed about the first half of training camp, and Isaiah McKenzie just took over. Isaiah McKenzie had an outstanding training camp. And Khalil Shakir, the rookie, has had outstanding preseason. Minus last night, but he didn't really play much. He didn't really have to prove anything. And then Jake Kumaro, I know they covet him on special teams. He fumbled the ball in the second preseason game, but that's first preseason game actually, but that's okay. I don't want to say it's okay. It's never okay to fumble a ball away, but it's okay kind of because he doesn't play that role. He's a very elite special teamer. And then Isaiah Hodgins, tall, big body presence. So those are 6 receivers. People are saying it's Kumaro versus Hodgins for that 6th spot with Crowder locked in that 5th spot. I don't agree. I think it's Kumaro versus Hodgins versus Crowder for 5 and 6, and I think Crowder is the odd man out and gets cut here, and Kumaro and Hodgins both make the roster. So there's your 6 receivers. Moving on with the offense, we're almost done with the offense to move on to the defense. But offense, tight end next. This is pretty well. I'll get to this in a minute. Dawson Knox, O.J. Howard, and then Tommy Sweeney are my 3 tight ends I have keeping with Quentin Morris. Now, if you cut Quentin Morris has been brilliant this preseason, I want to say. A lot of players have, but especially him. If you only keep 2 tight ends and release both Sweeney and Morris, that makes room for Crowder on your receiver room, but obviously I don't have him making it, and I have him getting cut. But anyway, for the tight ends, Dawson Knox actually making it. O.J. Howard, now, I looked this up, the numbers and stuff. Cap hit, if they cut O.J. Howard, they have to eat almost $3 million in dead cap, and then almost $3 million in dead cap between this year and next year. So they're not going to do that. And then they can, but they can save $2 million for a trade, and if they do trade O.J. Howard, that opens the door for both Sweeney, as they have here, and Quentin Morris to sneak onto the roster at tight end. O.J. Howard's been very disappointing in training camp and preseason. He played late into the third quarter last night in the preseason finale for the Bills, and if you're playing late, you're trying to prove something. So McDermott and Beanie obviously haven't seen enough from this guy. I think it's just a matter of he's kind of slow adjusting to offense. I've heard reports he looks robotic out there. He looked robotic almost all of training camp in his movements, and I kind of overestimated, and a lot of reporters did. I myself, I know, overestimated this signing. I was really hyped when they signed him. 2 tight end sets, but he is a pretty good blocker. I would go as far as to say he's a great blocker, but so is Tommy Sweeney. So maybe not great, but a little below him. But I mean, you'll have to watch that. And then Tommy Sweeney and Quentin Morris. Hopefully, can get back in the practice squad, because you can keep 16 members on the practice squad this year and years moving forward. Offensive lineman, this is pretty straightforward. The starting 5, I mean. Mitch Morse is your starting center. Roger Saffold is your starting left guard. Ryan Bates is your starting right guard. Spencer Brown is your starting right tackle. Deion Dawkins is your starting left tackle. Now, before I go on the depth players on the offensive line here, the backups and depth pieces I have making it, I want to talk about Spencer Brown versus David Quessenberry for that starting right tackle job week 1. Spencer Brown missed most of the training camp. And then when he was in there, he only had like 2 or 3 days of team drills. They were ramping him up extremely slowly, because he is literally a mountain of a man. So, very tall, very athletic. He has a fun fact. He has a raw athletic score, RAS, that judges their athletic score out of 10. He has a 10 out of 10 RAS, raw athletic score. He is just not offensive lineman. He might be the best athlete in the NFL. Well, one of the best at least. That's pretty impressive for a second-year offensive lineman. But Spencer Brown missed most of the training camp. And David Quessenberry, he moved from guard to tackle. Brown versus Questenberry for right tackle right now. I won't be right now. I'm penciling in Spencer Brown, obviously, as I just read, but I won't be surprised at all if they still want to be cautious with Spencer Brown and have him come off the bench and David Questenberry starts at right tackle week 1 against the Rams. So there's your starting 5, and then first person off the bench, David Questenberry. We just talked about him, and then 7, 8, and 9 for offensive lineman Tommy Doyle, who played at guard this offseason, which in OTAs, not so much training camp, but in OTAs, which was surprising because I've heard reports he did, but he's tall, and he might be too tall to play guard. He's fit tackle. If we have to move Tommy Doyle to guard, that's not a good sign. And then Greg Manns, who can move between tackle and guard in a pinch. I guess he can play center. And then Bobby Hart, who's a tackle. I know Bills fans, including me, clown Bobby Hart, but since we traded Cody Ford, by the way, I think we got great value for Cody Ford. Since we traded away Cody Ford, sorry about that, to check. I was still recording, thank God. Since we traded away Cody Ford, Bobby Hart can make the roster as the 9th offensive lineman. It was Bobby Hart versus Cody Ford, probably. I thought Greg Manns was pretty locked in, so now that makes room for Bobby Hart. But if he has to start, we're not looking good. But Cody Ford just never developed, by the way. But we got a 5th-round pick, 2023 5th-round pick for him. Now he gets to team up with Kyler Murray and Marquise Hollywood Brown, a wide receiver. They're all three college teammates at Oklahoma. Moving on to the defense. Defensive end, pretty straightforward, I think. Von Miller, Greg Rousseau, Boogie Basham, A.J. Epineza, and Shaq Lawson. Those are your 5 defensive ends I have, making it, like I said, pretty straightforward. We know who the top 2 defensive ends are. Von Miller and Greg Rousseau. Von Miller and Greg Rousseau are your top 2 in the left and right side. And then who's going to be that 3rd defensive end coming off, rotating in? Who's going to get the most snaps behind those top 2? In Rousseau and Miller. Will it be Boogie Basham, A.J. Epineza, or Shaq Lawson? Right now, I think it will be A.J. Epineza, but any of those 3 could really be 3, 4, or 5. Shaq Lawson knows his role. Is a very good. He's not the best passer. Well, I guess he is. Last time he was here in 2019. Very good season. Same with Jordan Phillips, who I'll get to in a minute at defensive tackle. Those guys are returning. Shaq Lawson's a very good run-stopping defensive end, if you will. And he's a decent pass rusher as well. I really like Shaq Lawson. First game, though, against the Colts, he was non-existent. Second game, he had a great game. He had 3 plays in a row. He was in there. He had a tackle for loss, a near sack, and a batted down ball at the line of scrimmage. So that was awesome, and they forced a 3-and-out. So those are your 5 defensive ends. Defensive tackle, this is pretty, I would say this is 100% locked in. Ed Oliver, Daquan Jones and then Tim Settle and Jordan Phillips. The only starter, if you will, on this defensive line is Ed Oliver. He'll stay in almost all the time, but they do the defensive line rotation. I have my own thoughts about that, and I'll share them quick. I say keep your dogs out there. What I mean by that is if they're playing well, don't take them out. You don't need fresh legs if a guy's playing extremely well. So I don't like how much they did that last year, but McDermott and Leslie Frazier are going to continue to follow that philosophy. I don't agree with it as much, but what am I? I'm not the head coach or the GM or defensive coordinator of the Buffalo Bills. So Ed Oliver will be the quote-unquote starter here. And then Daquan Jones, Tim Settle, and Jordan Phillips all rotate in at various spots at the 3-tack and 1-tack. Tim Settle, I think, is an underrated signing. I think not enough people, including Bills fans, including myself, aren't talking about him enough. I think he's going to be pretty good for us this year, sneaky signing. So those are 4 defensive tackles. I really like I really like Brandon Bryant. He's had a really good preseason and a really good, he had a great training camp as well. He's just stuck around for some reason. Hopefully we can get him back in the practice squad, but I don't think he'll make it back, unfortunately. A lot of these guys that will get cut will sign pretty quick. A lot of teams will claim them. And if not claimed, they can sign back to the Bills practice side or wherever else. But a lot of teams will claim them, especially the Giants, because they have Joe Schoen. Joe Schoen was the Bills' assistant GM last year for the last few years, and now he's the actual GM for the Giants. And then Brian Daboll, we all know about that, Bills' offensive coordinator for 4 years, since Josh Allen's rookie year in 2018-19 season. Now he's the head coach of the New York Giants. So, look for a lot of teams, especially the Giants, to be eyeing, and Panthers, obviously, for McDermott and Bean Days, and maybe Patriots, Bill Belichick move that to eye Brandon Bryant and these other players that get caught by the Bills if they don't make it back to the Bills practice squad. Linebacker, I have 6. The top 4 are pretty Top 5 are pretty consistent in my opinion. Tremaine Edmonds, Matt Milano, Terrell Dotson, the rookie out of Baylor, 3rd-round pick, Terrell Bernard, Tyler Matakevich, core special teamer on this team, key special teamer for the Bills, and then Balin Spector, 7th round pick out of Clemson. He plays with his hair on fire, like literally, because he has really, really long hair. But he plays with his hair on fire, some scouts said when the Bills drafted him, and it shows. Like, he flies around. He's not the biggest linebacker, him and Terrell Bernard, but he flies around. By the way, Terrell Bernard doesn't have the foot speed. That's why he wasn't a 1st or even 2nd-round pick. He doesn't have the foot speed to keep up with the other tight ends and whatever, like Dawson Knox in practice. But one of the linebackers, Balin Spector. It was Balin Spector versus Andre Smith for me, but Andre Smith is on the what was I gonna say? Will be on the suspended list to start the year. It's suspended 6 games, and then when it comes to that, they'll have to decide between him and Spector. I'm not sure, though, if Andre Smith has to make the initial 53 and then they place him over the suspended list, or he can just be on the suspended list and he doesn't have to initially make it. If he doesn't have to initially make it, then Balin Spector, no issues there. If he does have to, they can, maybe cut, a Balin Spector or a Tommy Sweeney, but maybe Balin Spector and do a handshake deal, what they did with Dean Marlowe a few years back. Say, we got to cut you for now to make some roster maneuvering and jump through some roster hoops here, but say in Buffalo, keep your phone around you. We'll sign you back the next day. So I think they might do that if Andre Smith has to make the initial, then be placed in the list. But if he doesn't, then Balin Spector's locked in. Cornerback, Tre'Davious White. I have 6 here because I'll explain who I would put if I have Tre'Davious White going in the PUP, which would, the PUP list, if you will. Physically unable to perform if you don't know, but you probably do. If Tre'Davious White goes on the PUP list, then we have a 7th cornerback making it. 6. But if he doesn't, which I don't think he will here, I have 6 here. But if he does, like I said, 7, that would mean Tre'Davious White misses 4 games for this season. That means against the Rams and those other 3 games. I don't memorize them off the top of my head. I think it's Rams, Titans, Dolphins, and then Ravens. Yes, it is Rams, Titans, Dolphins, Ravens. So that Rams and Ravens game will be key, but I don't think he'll go on PUP. I don't think they want him to miss 4 games. I don't think he's going to play week 1. I know he really wants to, but they're judging how cautious they were with Spencer Brown just in the offseason from back surgery. Yeah, I don't think they'll play him. And then I have Dane Jackson. Leslie Frazier, the defense coordinator, did say last week that Dane Jackson is ahead of Kaiir Elam and Christian Benford, and which of course he is, so I'm assuming he'll start week 1. And then I have Taron Johnson in the slot, one of the few elite slots in the NFL remaining, and then Kaiir Elam, the highly touted first-round pick out of Florida Gators, and then Christian Benford, very, very surprising. I had this guy not written off because he just got drafted, but I had this guy not making the team, going to the practice squad right away when he was drafted in the 6th round out of Villanova. It's not even Division 1 or even Division 2. It's FCS level, and they don't even play when everyone else plays. They have their own spring league they played. So they're so there's the corner. Oh, and then Saran. There's the corner. Now, that one corner, the 7th corner I was talking about, if Trey White goes in the PUP list and that opens a rough spot, then Cam Lewis. But they're going to cut Cam Lewis, unfortunately, and he's not making it back to the practice squad. The Giants would claim him within hours. So, there's my 6 cornerbacks. There's my 6 corners making it this year. But like I said, if Trey White goes in they decide to place him on the PUP list, then Cam Lewis can slide in as a 7th corner. Safety, pretty straightforward, literally not changed. Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, Jaquan Johnson, Damar Hamlin. Jordan Poyer, we all know his contract situation. I was talking to my dad about it. He doesn't think the Bills will re-sign him. He doesn't want him to overpay because he'll be 32 by the start of next season if they do extend him to the 2023-24 season, which is looking really far ahead. But I do like the development of Jaquan Johnson. Apparently, he's the heir apparent. He would be a starting level safety on any other team easily, like the Giants. I keep bringing him up, but the Giants. He's a core special teamer as well, and then Damar Hamlin, he's a really good special teamer as well. He made a couple of nice special teams tackles last night. I love Josh Thomas, too. I really like what he put on tape. Not in the preseason, but in training camp. Fun fact, I actually got his autograph when I went to Bills training camp this summer a few weeks ago. Josh Thomas, that is, so, as well as Stephon Diggs. So, side note there. But those are the 4 safeties. Kicker, nothing explained here. Tyler Bass, punter, Matt Araiza. No, I don't want to elaborate on this too much, but... And I'm not going to compare it to anything else because there's rumors going around Twitter and everything else. Deshaun Watson versus this, whatever. But apparently he was involved in a really, really bad sexual assault case where one girl claimed he and 2 other San Diego State players, I don't want to say the word on YouTube because I don't want to get banned or whatever it is, but you've probably heard of it by now. Murky situation. He didn't play this night, so Matt Barkley had to punt this night. He had a couple of nice punts. I was joking, he could punt farther than Matt Hack, who, by the way, just got signed by the Colts. So, and then punter, so kicker Tyler Bass, punter Matt Reza, and then long snapper Reed Ferguson. So there is 53. Like I said, a lot of teams will be eyeing the players the Bills caught. They'll just be sitting around waiting to claim them, and then you can put 16 back in the practice squad. A lot of questions. Will Trey White go on the PUP list? And then that starts in Cam Lewis. Will Andre Smith, when he comes back, will they have to cut Balen Spector? Do they trade O.J. Howard, Brandon Bryant? All those questions. So anyways, guys, I can't wait for this season. I'll be ramping up content very soon. I have 4 fantasy drafts in the next 2 weekends. 1 tonight, 1 tomorrow night, and then 2 next weekend between Saturday and Sunday, I believe. So anyways, guys, drop down in the comments some specific players you think will make it or won't make it compared to me. Or if you want to give your whole roster prediction, that's fine too. Anyways, guys, this is Basketball Star 1130. Bye.